So NFL.com said that Marvin Harrison setting the record with 143 receptions in a season, it was like as if the Indianapolis Colts were playing Madden football. Welcome to Just the Stats NFL, the show that covers the NFL statistical leaders from the all-time greats to the current players leading the NFL. I'm Ernie Jennings, your host. So I was looking up some records on Google over the last little bit of time, and I came upon an article from NFL.com titled NFL's Most Unbreakable Records. So I thought I'd take a look at that article. What's interesting about the article was written in October of 2014, right after Peyton Manning had set the career mark for most TD passes in a career. Now, fortunately, they didn't list him breaking that record as one of those that would never be broken again, which is a good thing because not too many years after he set the record, Drew Brees and Tom Brady both passed him, with Tom Brady now holding the record for most touchdown passes in a single in a career with 649. Peyton Manning had set the record, and he finished up with 539 in 2015 when he ended his career. But both Tom Brady and Drew Brees have passed him by quite a bit. But they didn't list that as one of the records, even though Tom Brady with 649 touchdowns could be fit in this category, but that's not one we're going to look at. But I thought it'd be interesting to look at these records because some of them I want to question whether they are breakable or not. And each one I'll go through, and I'll go through these quickly because there's quite a few, and we'll just judge whether we think they're breakable or not. So let's get started with this episode of Just the Stats NFL. So the first one, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They lost 26 straight games from 1976 to 1977. Now, this is a record that is only being considered because it began with the merger of the AFL and the NFL in 1970. Because if you don't include that, the Chicago Cardinals from 1942 to 1945 lost 29 games in a row. So is either one breakable? I mean, if you can't break 26, you can't break 29. So that was the Buccaneers, like I said, did this in 76, 77. Since then, the closest was the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is my team, sadly, in this point. But they, from 2020 to 2021, came the closest with 20 consecutive losses. So is the record unbreakable? I say yes. I don't think it's going to get broken, primarily for three reasons. One is free agency. Players just don't stay with a team long enough often, and so you have a lot of parity, which is part number two, and the salary cap, which wasn't in effect back then, was in 2020, 2021 for the Jaguars, but I just don't see it happening. Teams work too hard to at least have a team that wins one or two games. So to lose 26 straight, I just don't see it happening again. Number two, George Blanda played for 26 seasons. That's a record. Started with the Chicago Bears under the famous George Halas in 1949 and wrapped up his career with John Madden-led Oakland Raiders in 1975. Two great coaches he played for, among others. And he spent a lot of his career with the Houston Oilers. Now, he played 26 seasons as a quarterback, and he was a kicker as well. This is back in the day when he first started where you could do them both. And even late in his career, he played kicker some extra points. But is this record unbreakable? Well, it's possible. The only ones that could break this would be kickers, I think, or punters. Morton Anderson came the closest. He played 25 years from 1982 to 2007. I would say, yes, this is unbreakable for a couple of reasons. One, if you start your career when you're only 20, to play 27 seasons to break the record, you're going to be 47. That's just incredible. So I just don't see many players playing till at least 47 years old. The other thing is players' salaries are so high now. There's no reason to play that long. You have to be dedicated to the game to play for that many years. And I don't know, with the way the money is, that people are going to do that. So I say, yes, the record is unbreakable. Number 3, San Francisco 49ers won 18 consecutive road games from 1988 to 1990. 18 consecutive road wins. Now, the next best, New England Patriots, did it twice. Well, no, they had 14 in 2016 and 2017. So 4 games less than the 49ers. I say, yes, this is unbreakable. I don't see another team ever winning 18 consecutive road games for a couple of reasons. One, you play 17 games in a season, soon to possibly be 18. So that's a lot of games in a season. Plus, you're playing a game often in another country now. So I just don't see it happening. And like I said, the second best is 4 games back. San Francisco 49ers had 18. The Patriots had 14. That's a big difference when you're talking about this. I mean, the Patriots would have won 5 more games going into probably another season. So I just don't see it getting broken. So yes, this record is unbreakable. Brett Favre played 297 straight games as a quarterback. Made his first start in the week 4 of the 1992 season and continued until this final game when he was hurt in December 5th of 2010. That is a long time. I don't see this probably being broken. When you look at the next best, there's a defensive end, Jim Marshall, had an amazing record too of 282 games consecutively played. Now, he was not a quarterback, but he's the closest. When you're talking about just a quarterback, this is what makes the record probably unbreakable. Ron Jaworski's second for quarterbacks with 116 games. 116 compared to Brett Favre's 297. So now you put that in context. Current players, somebody who could break someday Brett Favre's record. Currently, Josh Allen's got the longest streak among NFL quarterbacks with 114 consecutive starts. So really, he's only 2 away from breaking Ron Jaworski's record, tying it and then breaking it in the third game. So he'd move into second. He's still not even halfway. He's only a third of the way, almost just under a third of the way of catching Brett Favre's 297. That's just incredible. And what's amazing about it, which makes this, again, I say this is an unbreakable record. Yes, it's unbreakable. Josh Allen, in current players, has 114 consecutive starts. The next best is Jared Goff with 51. That's just incredible. So I say, yes, this record is unbreakable. Brett Favre will hold that record. Here's another one. Number 5, Jim Hardy had 8 interceptions in a single game. He was intercepted 8 times in a single game. He was playing for the Chicago Cardinals against the Philadelphia Eagles on September 24th, 1950. One of those 8 interceptions was returned for a TD. The Cardinals lost to the Eagles 45-7, which makes sense when you have 8 interceptions. Now, there are 9 people tied for second with 7 interceptions in a single game. The first time it happened was even before Jim Hardy, when it was the record, was in 1942 by Parker Hall. The last time it was done was way back in 2001 by Ty Detmer. They had 7. They all had 7. One interception back. So I'm going to say, yes, this record's unbreakable. No one's even come close in the last 24 years. And just, you're going to pull a quarterback anymore with that many. And you just don't see that many because of the way the rules have changed. You're not going to see 8 in a single game, I don't believe. Next one, George Blanda again. This time, he had the most interceptions in a single season with 42. He was playing for the Houston Oilers in 1962, and he threw 42 interceptions in a single season. What's incredible is he had 4 years of leading the NFL in interceptions, 4 years in a row. Now, what's also amazing about this is despite throwing 42 interceptions, he led his team to an 11-3 record, 11 wins, 3 losses, and he made the Pro Bowl. 42 interceptions, and he made the Pro Bowl. It was a different time back then. As far as interceptions go, obviously, you're not going to throw. First of all, no one's ever going to throw 42 again. But it's just amazing that he made the Pro Bowl. Vinny Testaverde has come the closest recently. He threw 35, but that was way back in 1988 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I'm going to say, yes, this record is unbreakable. Now here's Brett Favre again. Most interceptions in a career. Now, you would have thought that'd be George Blanda, but it's not. It's Brett Favre. He threw 336 interceptions in his career from 1991 to 2010. George Blanda is second with 277. I'm going to say this record is unbreakable. So, for example, current players, Matthew Stafford, who probably will retire next year, maybe one more year after that, but I doubt it. Matthew Stafford has 188. He's played for a long time, has 188. As I said, Brett Favre's 336. So there's just, you don't see the amount of interceptions that you had in the past. Not for a player that's going to continue to play season in, season out as a starter. I mean, you start throwing 20 plus every season, you're not going to be a starter. All right, so that record will be unbreakable, I'll say. Next one, Emmitt Smith, most rushing yards in a career, 18,355 from 1990 to 2004. So just to give you an example of somebody who possibly could break the record, that would be Derrick Henry, who's played from 2016 to 2024. He's got 11,423 yards. So he's just under 7,000 yards away. I'm going to say this record is also unbreakable, but at about a 90% chance that 90% likely that it will not be broken. I'll give Derrick Henry maybe a 10%. And when you're looking at the numbers, there's really nobody after Derrick Henry, not Saquon Barkley, nobody that has put up the kind of numbers that's going to get you to 18,000 in a time frame that's plausible. Even Derrick Henry, who's played since 2016, but he's 31. He'd have to put up another couple of spectacular seasons. I mean, he puts up another 1,900-yard season. Well, then he just jumped a long way up this list. But what's that possibility? I just don't see it. But anyway, he's the closest, so I'll give him a 10% chance of actually doing it. But unbreakable, probably yes. Next one. Derek Thomas had 7 sacks in one game. He was playing for the Kansas City Chiefs against the Seattle Seahawks on November 11, 1990. Sacked quarterback Dave Krieg 7 times. Since 2014, there's been other players, but no one's ever gotten to 7. There's been, let me see here. There's been 4 players who have had 6. The most recent, though, was Khalil Mack. He had 6 when he was playing for the San Diego Chargers against the Las Vegas Raiders on October 1st, 2023. So not that long ago. 6 came close. So I'm going to say this record is not unbreakable, though I will say the fact that there's been players who have come within 1, I think it's as likely that someone ties a record rather than breaking it. But I do give them a shot to break it. That'd be 8 sacks in a game. I see more likely that somebody finally jumps from 6 to 7. I say it's also unlikely because sacks have only been unofficially kept since 1960, and officially since 1982. So I do see the possibility that somebody will come along and break that record. Now we do move on to the next one. Jerry Rice, most receiving yards in a career with 22,895 from 1985 to 2004. The second place person is Larry Fitzgerald from 2004 to 2020. He had 17,492, so a little over 5,000 yards behind Jerry Rice. They're the only two people over 16,000. There's not even anybody to 16 other than those two. So this is a record that when we look at this, let me back up a little bit. So let's look at the current players that even have a possibility of a chance. Davante Adams, he's been playing since 2014, so he's been around for a little bit. He's got 11,844 yards. So he still needs another 11,000 yards. I say slim chance on that. Tyreek Hill also has 11,098 yards, but he's been playing only since 2016, so 2 years after Davante Adams. But you figure that's 9 years, 18 years he could get there. Is he going to play double the amount of time he's already played? I doubt it. He'd be in his late 30s. So slim chance there. Now here's one that has a possibility. Justin Jefferson has 7,432 yards, and he's only been playing since 2020. So 5 seasons he's been playing. He's already got 7,400. Well, if you triple that, if he played for 15 seasons, again, you see how long you have to play. Jerry Rice played 20 years. But let's say Justin Jefferson played for 15. So you would triple that 7,400. Well, that put him right around the amount that Jerry Rice has. So I'm going to say Justin Jefferson has a possible chance. So is this unbreakable? I give it a 50-50 chance for a couple of reasons. Well, one reason primarily, they play more games. They play an extra game a season and maybe 2 games extra a season. So it's a possibility you can get there in fewer seasons. You don't have to play till your late 30s to get there. So there's more games with more passing. Now the problem is the longevity is a question mark. You have to be healthy for a long time, and you have to be willing to want to play. So that's why I give it a 50-50 shot. Other than just Justin Jefferson, there's nobody current. I mean, maybe, Chase, but even he right now isn't on the pace. But you put up another season like he had last one with 1,700 yards, and that could change everything. So I'll give that one a 50-50. Now, another Jerry Rice, most receptions in a career with 1,549. He had 4 seasons with 100 or more receptions, and in 20 years, 4 seasons with 100 or more receptions. Now, second place is Larry Fitzgerald with 1,432 receptions, just over 100 fewer. So unlike the 5,000-yard difference in yardage, he's just over 100 in receptions behind, which is, hey, like I said, there's seasoned players now with seasons of having 100 receptions. So is this record unbreakable? No, I don't. I think it will be broken. The reception record will be broken. Already, Davante Adams has 957 receptions. He's had 5 seasons with 100 or more receptions. Now, remember, Jerry Rice had only 4 of 100 or more. Tyreek Hill has 798. Now, like I said, he started 2 years after Davante Adams. He's had 3 seasons with 100 or more receptions. CeeDee Lamb played 5 seasons. He's got 496 receptions. 3 out of his 5 first seasons, he's already had over 100 receptions. So he's one behind Jerry Rice, and he's only played 5 seasons. Justin Jefferson has 495, one behind CeeDee Lamb. Again, 3 out of his first 5 seasons, he's had 100 receptions. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown has 430 receptions in 4 seasons. He's had 430. He's 3 out of his first 4 seasons, he's had over 100 receptions. So these receivers nowadays are going to start racking up way more 100 reception seasons in their career than Jerry Rice ever did. So I do think this is a record that ultimately will be broken, because you do not have to have the same amount of time to reach that number. So yes, it will be broken. Next one, Flipper Anderson, most receiving yards in a single game, 336. On November 26, 1989, playing for the Los Angeles Rams against the New Orleans Saints, Flipper Anderson had 15 receptions for 336 yards. That's the most ever in a single game. Now, the caveat for that one is the Rams did win the game 20-13, but it was in overtime. So a little extra time for more yardage. Now, Calvin Johnson, playing for the Detroit Lions against the Dallas Cowboys on October 27, 2013, so quite a few years, 24 years later, had 14 receptions for 329 yards, 7 yards behind Flipper Anderson in a game that Detroit won 31-30. Now, in that game, there was no overtime. So he came close, but didn't need overtime to get to that number. So let me just say, is this record unbreakable, the 336 yards by Flipper Anderson? I say no. And I'll say it for primarily, it's pass happy league again, but 9 players have had 300 yards in a single game. So 9 times they've come pretty close. He's got 336. The last one was Julio Jones in 2016. He had 300 exactly. So it has been a little while since somebody's had 300. But I do think it's one of those things that could happen. So that record, I believe, is unbreakable. No, it's not. Next one, Eric Dickerson set the single season rushing record with 2,105. Now remember, I'm listing these because this is what NFL.com said were records that would not be broken. So Eric Dickerson, single season rushing record, 2,105. He set that in 1984 with the Rams. Second best is Adrian Peterson, who had 2,097 in 2012. So the record has been around since 1984. It has not been broken, but there have been 8 times that a player has rushed for more than 2,000 yards. And Saquon Barkley did it last year. And Saquon Barkley didn't play the last game of the season. So with an extra game, it's possible if Saquon Barkley had a 100-yard game, he would have broken the record. Also, Derrick Henry in 2020 had 2,027. So I think this is a record that will definitely be broken someday. So while I don't see the career rushing record getting broken, I do see the single season record getting broken. Now, the last one is what made this article really fascinating to me. Remember, this article was written in 2014. So NFL.com had said this about Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison, playing for the Colts, had 143 receptions in 2002. So in 2014, that was the record. So NFL.com said that Marvin Harrison setting the record with 143 receptions in a season, it was like as if the Indianapolis Colts were playing Madden football. That's how amazing they thought it was. And the reason they did was that the record had been set in 1995 by Herman Moore with 123. So Harrison broke the record by 20 receptions, which is quite a bit to break a record. So what made this article the most fascinating to me is they said this was an unbreakable record. Well, we know that's not true because 5 years after they wrote the article, Michael Thomas came along for the New Orleans Saints and set the current record in 2019 with 149 receptions. So 5 years after they thought it was unbreakable, it was broken. So this is a record. Is it unbreakable now that Michael Thomas has 149? I say no. Oh, I say yes, it is. No, I'm sorry. It is breakable. I think this record will be broken by somebody, and probably not even that far into the future, even though it's been, 5 years now, going on 6. I think it will be broken. Just last year, 2024, Jamar Chase led the NFL with 127 receptions. CeeDee Lamb's had 135. Just last season alone, there were 10 players with 100 or more receptions. So I don't see it that difficult. Well, obviously it's difficult, but I do think this is a record that will definitely get broken again, despite NFL.com saying it was an unbreakable record that Marvin Harrison had set. So I found that fascinating. I hope you enjoyed this quick run through different records. Some I do think are unbreakable, some not, maybe unbreakable, and some I think are definitely going to be broken someday. So that's our run through that. Let me know what your opinion is on that. If you think some that I say are unbreakable, you think they can be broken. Obviously, anything's possible, but just the odds is what I'm basically going on here. Well, anyway, stick around as I will return to the teams of the NFC. I'll start my look at the NFC North. I just finished up the NFC East, so I'll go to the North. And we'll go run through the rest of the NFL before the season starts. If you want to check out my take on the NFC East or the entire AFC, you can go to my previous podcasts and check them out. So I appreciate you listening. I appreciate it if you like this podcast or subscribe. Both, honestly, not or, but both. Do both. That's much appreciated. You can get in contact with me on Facebook, X, or Instagram at Just the Stats NFL. So again, I thank you for listening. That is a wrap for this episode of Just the Stats NFL. So until next time, I'm out.